Right now, I'm on the Eagle Prairie Bridge between Scotia and Rio Dell. Been here before, and I'm going over to Rio Dell on that side of the river, and that's quite a lot of river. And so one of the things I'm going to find out today is whether I can actually reach that river from somewhere in Rio Dell. I'm not actually sure about that, and I guess I'll find out. So this is Davis Street, and we've kind of left the tourist-oriented part of downtown, and this road just continues to the east and goes through more of like a traditional 70s style residential area with ranch homes. And this road, I believe, is my best shot for finding some type of river access. So right now we are crossing Highway 101, no article, and somewhere on this end is what I'm looking for. And from here we can have a full view of most of Rio Dell. You can see it's kind of it's a pretty compact little residential town. A lot of those buildings look like they're from the 70s, maybe 60s, some are earlier. And over there would be downtown, and then over there is the bridge to Scotia. And there is still a little bit more of the town over here. I actually don't know if this is in city limits or not, but you know, we do have more of the settlement over here. Well, I am happily surprised. Pedestrian access only, and that's me, and river access, that's a little public ground sign. And this is the access, and I was worried because right here we have private property, tenants only. This is an RV park, but here, this looks like we are supposed to be here. And as you can see, this does not look like a really heavily traveled area. Not publicized either, there's no signs leading to it. Probably because the people in the RV park don't want a bunch of unruly guests trampling around making noise, which is a legitimate concern. Anyway, so I'm going to find the river access. I also had like a really big, fancy, pretentious speech prepared about how people relate to reified space, etc. Unfortunately, you won't be hearing that. I'll just be, you know, looking at the water. And here we have reached a T-intersection of a sort, and to the left is the river. To the right there's another path, and I will be going up that. I don't know where that goes. That might give me access to somewhere else. And I have a long day with nothing to do, so no reason not to explore a lot. A lot of sand here. So like I said, by the Eel River in Scotia, the floods got pretty high, because you can see this vegetation was carried here by the current. You can see how high it is. So it looks like where I'm walking now would have been under 7 or 8 feet of water, maybe more, it's hard to tell. Another thing I don't know is this area is pretty clean swept except for the willow trees. Otherwise it's just cobbles, gravel. So I don't know if this looked quite different before this winter, and this would have been a, you know, covered with more soil and other plants. Whether some of the willow trees that would have been here have been carried away. There is no normal here to compare it to, because, you know, the river can vary so much and the ecosystem changes, and even the ground itself is not very stable. There was a 6.4 seismic event, obviously not an earthquake at that scale, a couple months ago as well. So things can really change here. Looks like here the beach, the gravel beach, is coming to an end. I might try to see if there's a path past here, but something tells me this is maybe not the best place, and I should turn around and enjoy going back. Step into my office. Well, now I'm curious, so I guess I'm just going to continue up this path or down this path, because now I'm curious. So yeah, I'm not really sure what this is. If I had to guess, this looks like a place where people are doing ATVing, which also maybe means this isn't where I should be. But I'm going to continue on at least a little bit further this way. Another interesting point, kind of an obvious point, we got just above the sandy part, you know, the rocky sandy part, and into the mud, and immediately we get a lot of plants growing here. Catchweed breadstraw, what looks like stinging nettles. That looks at first like Heracleum, but I think that's actually called Arctic butterbur. And then here we have what looks like some type of thimbleberry. Looks like that's coastal manroot growing up the trees. So Humboldt County gets a lot of moisture, has very fertile soil. There's a lot of weeds growing here. Notice the plural. I did also see just here some type of mule deer, family deer, jump out of the way down this way. Couldn't get my camera out in time, but there are deer here, which is obvious. I've seen tracks here and other places. Hopefully I'll get a shot of them somewhere around one of these bends. So there are the tracks. I don't know if those were freshly made, but there's probably a deer somewhere down there. I hope that showed up on the camera. So I don't know if that was the same deer or a different one. This looks like this. I said the vegetation was lush. Probably a lot of deer out browsing. So I've reached a point where it looks like the path has truly stopped. And I can't tell whether something like this is also a path. But I've talked about this before, that sometimes, you know, I'll be hiking in the woods, even in like a smaller city park like Willamette Park in Corvallis, and I'll think I've been following a path, and then I turn around and I realized it was an illusion. So for several reasons, probably a good time to turn around here. I actually wasn't thinking of finding a forest path like this today. I just thought I'd have like a little bit of view of a river, and I've been following this for, I don't know, 10 or 20 minutes. Like a lot of times when I'm in the woods, not really a long distance in terms of the space that I go through, but you know, when you're there, just a couple hundred feet into the woods and you are into the woods. Anyway, I'm going to return home and see about how far I can follow the beach down, maybe all the way to the bridge. Incidentally, on this walk, I have not seen anybody on this path. It's just been me and the plants. Serves me fine for right now. So I've left that trail and I'm back on the beach. One thing about trails like that, and I think I've talked about this in several places, is sometimes they are kind of de facto public areas, but they still might be privately owned. And usually if they are privately owned and they don't want people there, they'll be clear about that. There will be a big no trespassing sign with various levels of hostility. But also, like, sometimes places are public, but it's kind of a limited thing. Sometimes it might be things that locals know about, and if you're a local who lives in the neighborhood and they see you there, they won't mind. But for other people, you know, strangers, they might react negatively. So whenever I go on a trail like that, you know, I'm always a little bit careful, even when it seems like it's pretty open and well maintained, like a public area. Speaking of which, in the state of Oregon, where I live, all beaches, including beaches of navigable rivers, are public. This is California, so this could actually be privately owned. I don't know who owns this. I do know there was a sign that said there was public access here, but that is still something where, like, I'm not quite sure if where I am right now is a public area, but if it isn't, it doesn't seem to be strictly enforced. Anyway, so I'm just going to walk down this beach and see where it ends up on the other side. As far as wildlife along the river, I've seen a lot of different birds in this river before, but today we have ducks, we have some branta geese, presumably Canadese geese, I'm not sure though. And up there we have a group of turkey vultures flying high overhead. That makes me think they might have smelled a food source somewhere in this river. Hopefully it's not they're following me. Other than that though, not really a really vibrant time for a lot of wildlife. That just comes and goes. Sometimes you'll go down the river and you'll see all sorts of birds, and then sometimes it's just a few of the usual suspects. I'm getting close to the point where I came in. I've been walking for a while. Really not that far in distance, but these cobbles, these are kind of hard to walk on after a while. I saw a truck come in on this road, so I'm assuming this road leads somewhere. So I'm hiking out now. This road is steep. My knees still hurt. I didn't really have any culminating thoughts about the river. It's nice to see the river. That was a little bit more scrappy. You know, in Humboldt County, there's a lot of places, state and federal, where you have perfectly preserved parks and nature areas, and this is more just a local area for people to walk their dogs and hang out, but I'm not complaining. And it's good to know that this is here, and also there's a closer entrance. So I'll remember that in the future. Today, got to see something new. Got to see the river, got to see the woods. Gave a little sample of all the different natural areas of Humboldt County, and now I'm just gonna be walking home. Kind of tired.